A World Without Email by Newport. What if email-free Thursdays and time blocks and turning off notifications are not enough? Maybe we need to totally reimagine how we work in order to reclaim our productivity. This is the question that Cal Newport of Deep Work and So Good They Can't Ignore You fame is trying to answer in his new book, A World Without Email. Let's go. Welcome to the Book Lab. I'm Björn, and every week we bring you the best book recommendations on the topics of human nature, human potential, philosophy, psychology, all that good stuff. And what does this book have to do with all of that? Well, we are humans living in the world, and what we're struggling with right now is over communication right now. How do we deal with that? We live in a world we're not evolved to be in, and it has consequences. And this is what makes this book so interesting. Cal Newport, he argues that email and Slack, or the bane of my existence as I call it, has not only made communication fast and frictionless, which could be a good thing, right? But it also introduced some quite horrible side effects, like people are more anxious than ever. There's a growing frustration and a loss of productivity among knowledge workers. He calls it the hyperactive hive mind. Workplaces that let email inboxes dictate the priorities throughout the day, where people jump from task to task, where we get stuck in email conversations that seems to get nowhere. A lot of things plays into this feeling of frustration and dissatisfaction and anxiety that so many knowledge workers feel these days. There is uncertainty about when tasks are done, or there will be more feedback coming in, right? And there is the scattered attention of notifications and having to jump between very different tasks that are very different in nature, and also the sense that people are trying to get a hold of you and waiting for you to respond all the time. It takes a toll on people. This book reminded me of an expression that I first heard in the book The Iconist, a really good book by Jamie Mustard, and it was not sleep, but email apnea. And I quote, "I just opened my email and there was nothing out of the ordinary there. There was the usual daily flood of schedule, project, travel information and junk mail. And then I noticed I'm holding my breath." End quote. This is a quote from Linda Stone. There are a lot of ideas actually that I implemented in my own life. What's reading books if we don't implement what we learn, right? And the idea that I took from this book and implemented into my life was the idea of the personal Kanban board. This is a project board where I can gather information so I don't have it spread out everywhere and communication channels left, right and center, because the problem I want to solve is that some information I have on my WhatsApp, some people I have discussions with in my DMs, I have ideas in my to-do list, like it's all over the place. And this board combines everything in one place, and we can have all the conversations around tasks, me and the people I work with, in one place. And it has 3 lines or 4. The to-do, this is my backlog, this is things that I need to do. Then we have in progress, this is what I'm currently working on, trying to single task as much as possible. Right now I'm doing World Without Email review, right? So that's in progress. And yesterday I worked on the lab report for the whistle experiment. So now that's in the done column here. We also have a review column. This is for external partners that I work with, where they can post their work for me to review. So this way I can have all the conversations around work in one place, all the task description, all the links, everything I need in one place, and that's a godsend. If you are like me and you find yourself in a role at work where you both have a support function and have expert work to perform, then it can be quite frustrating and draining to jump between these very different tasks. And one thing that I implemented from A World Without Email is the idea of splitting your week into focused work versus support functions. So what I've done here is my schedule. You can see all these green things here. That's work that is related to my support function. And I've clustered all of that into one day, so I can stay in that frame of mind, because it's a very different frame of mind than the expert work that I perform, that I do the rest of the week. So that's one way to avoid task jumping in your daily work and get more things done. This book is new, but it feels kind of dated. I mean, who is managing their tasks through email these days? Maybe a lot of people do. Maybe the company I'm working for is ahead of the curve, but I've been working with agile systems and workflows and frameworks for 10 years, it feels like. And that's the suggestion that this book has for solving this overload of information and being bombarded in many different channels, and this information everywhere. It's like gather everything in one place, and I think it's a good idea. I've tried it myself now and being more strict about it, and it makes a whole lot of difference. If you're still highly reliant on email in your daily work, then it might be worth having a look at this book, because it is a very practical book as well. It first defines the problem and talks about, okay, what is this kind of work actually doing to our productivity and our brain? And then it tries to find a new way of working, and also looking at what companies who are maybe ahead of the curve when it comes to working in a way that is more focused on productivity, and have seen the problem that having multiple different communications channels can have. And you get all those examples as well. It's kind of a breeze to, I like all these books are really easy to read, accessible and super practical. That's enough about email. We got other reviews coming up. We've got Turning Pro, a Steven Pressfield book of the War of Art fame. Some good insights to how to develop your creative life and actually put in the work, right? Because that's what we need to do. Also, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. This is one of the most challenging books I've read this year. It's written in a biblical style. It's a crazy book by Friedrich Nietzsche. So a lot of good things to look forward to. That said, press the like button, the bell, subscribe, please. It really helps me reach more people with great books, and I think that will make the world better. So read some books and see you next week. Björn out.